John 2 is the story of Jesus at the wedding in Cana, when he turns water into wine. This story ends with so much joy, but it doesn't start that way. And I think there's something we can learn from John 2. When we enter the story, the wine's run out. The party's in decline. People are upset at the lack of provisions, and they begin to pack it up, and they're ready to go home. And this is a metaphor, I think, for our lives. Sometimes people we invite into our life consume more of us than we have to give. Some people take things from us: our time, our energy, our love, our hate, our innocence, our money. They steal our joy, and they do it until we're drained or broken or alone. Maybe these things are things we willingly gave for people to take. But there will be times in our lives when life feels like we're throwing a party and we've run out of wine and we have nothing left to give to those we've invited to share our space. Maybe COVID has done this to you. Maybe you're all out, you're empty, there's nothing left to give, and you feel your joy running dry. As long as you invite people into your life, thinking that their presence defines your identity, then you will feel your joy running dry. I hope you can see that I'm using John 2 as a metaphor here. I'm taking the elements of a story and showing how our life feels so similar. At least emotionally, they are like one-to-one. So let me say all of this in another way. And this is for all of us. It is possible to live a life other than your own. When we let people steal our joy, when we stop living in a way that identifies what our joys are and what our needs are, then we start living a life other than what was intended. And this is a tragedy, because we only have one life. We can choose to do anything we want and study and learn whatever we want. People and places and things and thoughts, so they're all possibilities. But if we don't learn who we are and what brings us joy, then we'll get to the end of our life and feel the pain of never living your one true life. We live the duration of our life, but never having the joy of becoming us. I think the most holy discovery in all the world is finding who you are. And this is how you make sure people don't steal your joy. You do the hard work of discovering you. Not just your talents or your quirks, but you. The true, holy, divine you. That you that God stitched together from the same material as the stars. That beloved you. I think a huge reason for Jesus coming to the world was to teach us how to find our identity, our truest selves. And we see this begin to unfold even in this story in John 2. So let's jump back in. As people are leaving the party, it's at this moment Jesus steps in and goes to those who have run dry. He tells everyone, fill 6 basins with water. And then servants of the master of ceremony hurry to carry them from the river back to the party, and immediately the water turns to wine. I love this detail, because when we're hurting and hunting, that's when Jesus says, okay, I'm here. He looks at the master of ceremonies and says, I got this. Give me 6 of your servants, I'll take care of it all. And he sends them to the river. This can be another metaphor for our lives. When we feel dry and broken and joyless from what we've offered to the world, that's when we need to carry our basin to the water. The demands of life will run us dry. But some things we just have to do: laundry, cooking, homework, papers, all-nighters, jobs, parenting, whatever it is. Life happens. And it's in these moments that Jesus shows up wanting to transform our labor into joy. The servants in John 2 had no idea what they were doing. I'm sure they didn't want to walk up a hill with a 100-pound basin of water, but they did it. And they got to experience the joy of new wine because of it. They got the joy of renewal. This is another thing I love about John 2. It reminds us all that Jesus is orchestrating something bigger than just what we have going on in the world. But we are players in it. And just like with the servants carrying the water that turns to wine, if we do the hard tasks of going to the water, following the commands of Christ, then we too will experience the joy of transformation. This transformation is found when we see everyday tasks as holy. There's a third thing that strikes me about John 2 and how not to let your joy be stolen. It's with the master of ceremonies and how he responds to Jesus after he tastes the wine. Usually people serve the good wine first, but you've saved it till now. How? Why? I love this reaction because it mirrors so much of our own. He's experiencing the joy of finding God in the midst of the second half of the party, and he's moved by it. As most of you know, I have 2 kids, Henry and Georgia. I think about how I want them to encounter life. How will they get to the second half of life, and will they have joy, or will it be stolen? I want more than anything else in the world for them to engage the world with wonder and joy. I don't care if they ever play baseball seriously or perform on stage or cure cancer. Not any of those things would be amazing, and I'd be proud of them for it. But more than accomplishments, I want to instill in them the ability to see the potentiality of life and to engage it with wonder and joy, and then to not let others steal that joy. This is what I see in the Master of Ceremonies in John 2. His eyes were open to the wonders of life. Jesus is able to turn water into wine. Minutes before, no one could do such things, and now someone can. This kind of openness to new things, it's what I want for my kids, and I want for you. I think we need to go and wonder and dream and encounter and discover who we are. Embrace the wonder of God, and in doing so, we find and hold on to joy. To do this, though, we must live our own life, discovering our true self, finding our identity in Christ, doing the hard work of noticing when we're depleted, and at that moment going to the river for renewal, seeing that the small everyday tasks are holy, and not letting others steal that from us or take too much of us. When we do all this, then we'll have the eyes to see with wonder, and we'll start experiencing deep joy.